In Brazil, there is something called the syndrome of the possible, which is a danger. Want to see an example? You take your car to the mechanic tonight here in Campinas. You say, "My car makes a strange noise." He says, "I'll do what I can." You go to the doctor and say, "Doctor, I have pain in my pancreas. I'm gonna do my best." You come to an employee. "Look, I needed this. I'm gonna do my best." You get discouraged. Imagine you're here now. You know there are still 21 minutes left for you to break free from me. You start to get irritated. You have something serious to do. Suddenly you start with a pain. A cramp in the lower abdomen that goes back and forth. Your right leg starts to shake. You start with a little sweating, retching, chills. This is a sign of appetite. You pick it up. You take it to a nearby hospital. Take your temperature. See that you have signs of anesthesia. Take it to the operating room. You lie down in the hallway watching that white ceiling go by on the stretcher. Then you stick to the doctor's hand and say, "Doctor, will the operation work?" He says, "I'll do what I can." You want to stay right there. At this time we have to learn something that the North Americans. When you ask an American for something, he says, "I will do my best." I'll do my best. Attention. This is not a language issue, it is an attitude issue. It's absolutely different to do what you can and do your best. That's why I ask you here now. But I don't want you to answer. I just want you to reflect. In your activity, in the activity you have in the executive, in the city hall, in the state, are you doing your best or your best? It's not the best in the world. It's your best in the condition you have while you don't have better conditions to do your best. I ask again, but don't answer. Are you doing your best or the best? I insist. It's not the best in the world. If it's great, it's your best in the condition you have while you don't have better conditions to do your best. Because if you or I, being able to do my best, I settle for what is possible, I fall into a dangerous place called mediocrity. A mediocre person is one who is lukewarm, who is average, who is neither hot nor cold. Remember when you came home from school with a written report card? The father looked at it. 6 in Portuguese, 5.5 in mathematics, 4 in history. Dad, let it go. Mediocre. Let me get on with my life. Is this mediocrity? I insist. A mediocre person is one who, being able to do the best, is content with what is possible. Example. Mediocrity is lack of whim. Whim, you know what? Whim is to do your best in the condition you have while you don't have better conditions to do your best. For example, my mother and I live on the same street in Sao Paulo, by coincidence. And sometimes I go by her house in the late afternoon and my mother knows. Sometimes she looks at me at the end of the afternoon and says, "You haven't had lunch yet, right?" And I said, "No, I ate something at the university." She said, "Wait a minute, I'm going to make a deal for you." And that kind of magical thing about some mothers. In 5 minutes something appears for me to eat. I am the son of an Italian. Something common. A little noodles and olive oil and salt on top, but nothing. As hungry as I am at that time, I would eat an empty plate. So she can do anything, but you know what she does? She makes pasta with olive oil and salt, but before serving, she takes a small cherry tomato, cuts it in 4 and puts it on top. Whim. Whim is to do your best in the condition you have while you don't have better conditions to do your best. How many times did I, in Piranha, go to the countryside to visit someone's house? Those who know here know. In the countryside. That house that we call Waddle and Dog. A mud house with braided wood. The ground floor entered the house. Everything was swept. Everything swept. Whim. But the floor is already dirt. Whim. Do the best in the condition you have while you don't have better conditions to do even better. So as not to be mediocre. He asked me to take a sip of water in the garden. The woman would run to get a little aluminum mug all dented, sanded, to save the surrounding love. Are you already poor? Yeah, man, poor, but it's clean. And there are people who are not poor. They are not clean. And there are people who are poor, not clean. Mediocre. Poor people in the countryside have clothes made from bedwicker. Go. Church. Clothes are not new. Sometimes they have patches, but they are clean. And put it in the sun to strain. How many times did I, as Secretary of Education in the capital, visit a municipal school? Ceiling falling, water dripping, our fault of the public power. But the school was all tidy, clean, desks in order, old ladies, but in order. Blossom, teacher's lounge. When is to do your best in the condition you have while you don't have better conditions to do even better. There are people who are mediocre, and then the work gets mediocre. But the way I pay myself. But the way it is. But I have no condition. Every day in this city at 3:30 in the morning, some people wake up, take 2, 3 buses or a motorcycle and go to work in the rescue of the firefighter group or the SAMU. Spends the day taking the genius out of the hardware business to win at the end of the month. 3 and 200? 3 and 400. Did you imagine? What does he do there? The best. If you asked him, why does he do it? He spoke because it is important to do. Make the best of that condition. Oh, but I don't have a defibrillator in the vehicle or I don't have structure material. Do the best in the condition you have, while you don't have better conditions to do even better. I know a teacher and a teacher, which is my area of the public network of the state of the prefecture, who have an immense lack of material and do a magnificent job, because they do the best in that condition, while they don't have better conditions to do even better. There are people who, in the name of the condition, degrade action. Instead of having a job that goes hand in hand, he fights to improve conditions and makes the best of what he has. Oh, but here it is. I do what I can. Therefore caution, for life to have purpose. For you and I, we don't have a banal, futile, useless, superficial life. Above all, we need to be able to do our best. For this it is necessary to think about the work. For this you must, above all, not be lukewarm or lukewarm. After all, as I've said time and time again, life is too short to be small, and we are small when we have a banal, futile, useless, mediocre life. Life is too short to be small. It's enough for her to be short for me to manage to make her small in some way. And when do you and I make life small? As I said, when it's a superficial, banal, futile, useless life. What is your work? When you're gone, what's left? I'm sure you don't want to be mediocre. Neither do I. We don't want our patron to beg. I do what I can. We don't want to age our minds, practice, perception, life itself. What do people want? Doing the best in the conditions we have, while we don't have better conditions to do even better.